everybody, it's Drybear. And the Infinity Pool Summer Patch has gone live for the First Descendant. So you head over here in Albion, you'll see this cool, like, pool and cocktail area. This is right next to the ETA 0 vendor. You'll be able to jump on some of these animations. There's all these little circles that you can interact with. You'll be able to interact with them, and they'll do special little animations where you'll kind of bounce around and do stuff. You can hang out by the pool. You can fall off the edge and respawn. You can stand in the pool. I've been like running around and like meditating at the bottom of the pool just because I'm just so cool and such a hipster and whatever. There's like the Spotify QR code for the new list that they're adding to. There's people hanging out already. We got Freyna and Bunny chilling. You can hang out by the side of the pool. You can order drinks at the bar. You can, you know, do all kinds of stuff. It's a cool little area that you can hang out with. So this is part of their big update, but that's not all. They definitely did a bunch of buffing that they promised. So some balance changes, some rework, some things to avoid erosion purge. So today we're gonna talk all about the patch notes and what has been changed. The first thing worth mentioning is their crazy like breakthrough web page. They added a Descendant log and a web event that you'll wanna be aware of. I can leave a link for it down below in the comments and in the description. So if you go to the link here, it'll bring you to this page. You can pop up the Descendant log. This will give you a whole bunch of like records of how much you've cleared, what your stats are, like your gold earned over the last year, all of that, how long you've been spent playing, your favorite weapons and stuff. So that stuff is always really cool to do at a year-end recap. So make sure you just gotta hit the start button and then you'll go through. I'm not gonna do it because you have to like refresh the page after and it's kind of annoying. Then they have this like claw machine event, which has number of grabs as well. So you wanna make sure that you'll kind of fill this out, get your grabs for the day, and then you wanna hit start and then use the ticket, and there's no animation, it'll just grab this. It'll give you coins in game. It's one of the few ways to get coins in game, and same, you know, just as we've had before on the On East vendor, you'll go to her and spend those coins to get stuff. And there's tickets you can get by doing events and collecting things and all kinds of stuff. And there's also like these, you know, physical goods on here. I don't really know exactly how these rules are set up. Like there's actually like physical goods that they'll mail out for some people, and there's soundtracks and stuff like that. You'll have to read the rules here and kind of play around with it. If anyone messes with this for any extended amount of time, let me know in the comments how this goes, but these are always super confusing depending on how they end up doing these. Now, let's talk about the director's comments at the start of the patch notes here, because this is pretty important, and this kind of mirrors what they talked about yesterday for Descendant Fest and all of that we covered yesterday. The balance improvement focuses on reviewing the way Descendant skills apply movement speed changes. There's a lot of changes here today on movement speed. They raised the sprint speed cap, and they changed a lot of abilities that slow or speed up the character. So you'll see a lot of that as we're going through there. Adjusting the value of some of the less used Descendants and easing the gap between Firearm Descendants and Serena. They mentioned during Descendant Fest that they want Serena to be the point of balance for Firearm Descendants. So if there's a Firearm Descendant that doesn't meet the Serena level of balance, then they need to be buffed according to them. And same thing for skill Descendants compared to a Nez. So a Nez and Serena are the benchmark is according to their own calculations. As mentioned during yesterday's Descendant Fest 2025, we will continue to address balance gaps between Descendants through mostly balanced patches in Season 3. As a first step, we'll be making improvements to Jaber's skills on August 7th. I think this is actually like the 6th or 7th round of buffs and reworks for Jaber. Most of them have done almost nothing for him, so hopefully, you know, 7 times the charm for Jaber, and with some significant reworks or, you know, a little bit more design thought into how that character functions, they'll be able to bring him in line. I mean, obviously they could just crank the numbers up to obscene levels and he would be useful for what he does, but we'll have to see when Season 3 launches on August 7th what they actually end up doing with the main man Jaber. We're also reviewing the combat efficiency of skill Descendants in higher difficulty content like Axian Plains, and are currently tuning balance with a Nez as a benchmark. And the director closes out by saying the dev team is aware of the current disparity between Firearm Descendants and skill Descendants. We aim to reduce this gap using Serena as the reference point for I will never not laugh at them saying that Serena is the point of balance. I was joking yesterday that it's like introducing a Formula One car to a horse race and then saying that the Formula One car is now the point of balance for all horse races in the future. It's just, it's kind of comical, but Serena is the point of balance based on their estimation for firearm descendants in the future, and Inez is the point of balance for skill descendants. We will continue to take gradual steps to bridge the gap between skill and firearm descendants through our ongoing monthly balance updates. First up is Valby, best girl Valby. So she got a bunch of changes to her power overall and also to her supply moisture. So again, they're talking about the theme of today's patch is movement speed improvements and changes, bringing up characters that have any attachment to firearms at all and making them better, and also trying to bring up characters that are underperforming compared to others as well. So Valby, plop skill power gone up from 182 to 223, so plop scaling, that's gonna be really, really cool. Cleanup damage from 277 to 366, and the movement speed application for cleanup, which is her water form, has been reworked. So it used to be fixed at a flat 1,000 movement speed. The sprint speed cap used to be 1,300. It's now 1,600 with this patch, so it was a fixed value that couldn't change. Now it increases by a flat 300 and increases by a 20%. This is a very weird way to write this, which has, implementation questions on, does it apply, like at what order does it apply this? Does it apply the flat 300 first and then applies the 20% scalar onto the new value? Is it a multiplicative scalar? Is it an additive scalar? Are they, how are they weighed against each other? But in general, it seems like with enough movement speed and sprint speed on your character, you should be very easily able to get above where you were before the 1,000. It honestly should be comical for you to be able to get above 1,000, and it might even be possible for Valby in cleanup form to reach the 1,600 sprint speed cap, depending on what build you're running and what cores you have on your weapon, yada yada. Additionally, tidal wave module, the movement speed application was fixed at 1,000 before, and it got the same treatment as we did for her water form. And then for supply moisture, which is her firearm attack module, it now applies to launchers, which before it didn't. So it increases, when you have supply moisture active, adding firearm explosive attack increases by 35%, and the firearm attack bonus went from 10% to 35%. So this should make gun Valby a lot more viable compared to other builds. It already was quite good. I mean, not Serena good, nothing is Serena good, but bringing this up by quite a bit is going to help. And also her skill builds have come up, and her supply moisture gun builds have come up. So Valby stocks are on the rise. For Blair, Extinguish has had its skill casting time reduction, and I hope they continue down this pathway, because there are a lot of characters in the game right now that their problem is not a numbers problem, it is an animation time and opportunity cost problem. There are a lot of characters in the game that they just take too long to do what they do, or they have too many downsides to do what they do compared to others, right? Like, there's a long laundry list of characters that, because the animation time is too long or too awkward or has too many restrictions or requirements, it makes it so that, it's very hard to do what they do. And even when they do what they do, compared to characters like Serena or Inez that just kind of walk around and kill everything, it just doesn't make any sense comparatively. So I hope they continue down this path of not just looking at the numbers, but also looking at how the implementation is for the overall design to make sure that it fits what they should expect. Then for Flame Zone, the retrieval time got cut in half from 2 seconds to 1 second, and the burn taste movement speed during skill cast has moved from a flat -100 to a flat -20%. So in some cases, you're going to see this a couple times where they do this, where they do like they remove a flat value that existed before and apply a percentage value. This means that in some cases this is a buff, and in some cases this is a nerf. It depends on your build and your setup, right? Depending on there's gonna be breakpoints on where, -100 before would have been better, and -20% is worse, and it depends on how much you have. But I guess they're trying to have it scale with the amount of speed that you have, so it's more, it's relative to how fast you're going, right? Faster gets hit harder, slower gets hit less hard. In some cases, it'll be equal to 100 or less if you're going really slow, but big change there for burn taste. For Deadly Cuisine, the movement speed during skill casting had the same change, so rather than a flat value reduction, it is now a 20% speed reduction. Backdraft module, Extinguish, firearm attack increase per stat 5% to 20%, and added firearm explosive attack increase 20%, so similar treatment to the supply moisture. Skill casting time reduction and the Flame Zone retrieval time cut in half as well for Backdraft. And the same reduction for Deadly Cuisine module, movement speed flat to a reduction in percentage. Then Truly Deadly Cuisine module, check this one out. Skill power from 12,738% to 17,161% with the same movement speed shift from flat value to a percentage reduction there. So massive increase for Truly Deadly Cuisine as a skill power scaler. And lastly, for Classic Chef module, they did the same thing, removing the flat movement speed reduction and adding a percentage-based movement speed reduction instead. Next up is Best Girl Sharen. A lot of buffs here, mostly for damage output and speed increase. They didn't really rework some of the animations that I think she needs still, but having the damage increase is a welcome change in any regard. So for Sharen, cutoff beam skill power went from 1364 to 1681%. So a very nice stout, like 300% increase for the cutoff beam. Active camouflage, the movement speed increase went from 20% to 30%. So it's going to be a lot easier for her to keep up with characters like Bunny and that sort of thing. Shock Nuts got a skill power increase from 288% to 949%. I don't know if there's anyone that used Shock Nuts, but it needed a big buff. It probably isn't even enough here. It's so crazy to me that they're doing percentage increases on this magnitude for characters that have existed for such a long time. It kind of just goes to show where they're at with the balance state of things, but Shock Nuts going up to 949% damage. Ambushed module got a movement speed increase up to 40%, so Ambush is going to be crazy fast now comparatively to where it was before. Overcharged Edge, 30% up from 20 on the movement speed increase, and Area Suppression got a damage increase from 184 to 252. Personally, I would like to see Area Suppression be closer to like 300 to 400%, just because the efficacy and range of area suppression is so much more melee range compared to other abilities that are screen wide. So I feel like it should have a much bigger damage increase. But again, in this case, we welcome any damage increase at all. So 184 to 252. So area suppression Sharen is now a lot more viable than she was before. She already was kind of like over the line of viable. She can still clear things. She's not like obviously the best in the game, but having that damage increase is quite nice. Now the main man Enzo, which essentially he is the firearm guy, like lore-wise, logistics-wise, he is the logistics officer. He's all about summoning and munitions and ordnance, and all of his things goes towards that. So you would think that he would kind of be the firearms guy. They're doing a whole bunch of buffs here for Enzo. The first one is for start supply. It now has a buff that gives you a reload time modifier by 60%. So it'll make, when the buff gets granted with start supply, you now get a pretty massive increase to your reload speed. Explosive drone going up from 1952% to 2879, another massive increase in damage output. Even though this one is practically a 50% increase in damage, like 40 something percent, I still think this could go further. Comparatively, if Inez is the point of balance, we're saying Inez is the point of balance for a character like Enzo, who does have skills that do skill damage. I don't think that this is enough to put it in line with Inez and her being the point of balance for skill. But again, it is a buff. We take those. For perfect support, we get field bullet supply amount 7% to 11%, and same thing for the intercept battle supply amount. This is going to be super helpful for Enzo running firearm builds, but also just providing more supply for teammates if you're running in a group trying to use Enzo for the crit buff, as well as more munitions. Then for concentrated fire, explosive drone goes up from 2193 to 3241, and for concentrated fire outside of explosive drone, you get increased skill power by it's now a lower percentage. So basically what it was before is you had to have shield to get you the skill power. Now they're raising the base skill power on it and reducing the conversion of shield to skill power. So it used to be 3.8% of max shield converted to skill power. Now it's down to 0.2% of max shield converted, but the base value of skill power has gone up with concentrated fire. And they also increased firearm crit rate by 0.2% of max shield, and then the supply amount going up 3% here for both field supply and intercept battle supply as well. Next up is Hailey, a character that was the point of balance for a time in TFD. She was like the boss killer, the queen of single target damage, and then everyone ran her, and she was so great. And then she just kind of everyone forgot about her, or the players didn't, the developers kind of did, unless they were giving her a bikini skin. But she kind of had the point of balance for quite a while, so them returning to her is quite good. So the first thing they're changing is for cryo round. They're increasing the additional damage from 50% 50% to 200%. So 4x multiplier on that one, or, you know, three times more in addition, or 4 times overall. And then Zenith is also getting a firearm attack increase as well. So the big thing here is that Zenith is half skill damage, half firearm damage. So splitting between those, increasing just the firearm attack will increase the overall damage of her sniper ultimate, which gives her a little bit more, you know, a good bit more single target damage on top of everything else. So that is a nice buff for Hailey. Next, for the super cooled Kuiper round module, I actually don't know if anyone even uses this module. I've never seen anyone using it in general, but super cooled Kuiper round, the firearm attack increase is gone from 25% to a whopping 150%, a massive increase in firearm attack increase for this. So super cooled Kuiper round. Hopefully this at least makes it more interesting to run as an option. And then cryogenic cluster shot module, the additional damage is going from 25% to 100%, and the explosion damage from 178.8% to 257.6%. So some nice overall changes for Hailey. This will make her single target better. It will make her firearm builds better. It will make her scale better with weapons. And I think she definitely is in the category of a firearm character. This does not in any way put her anywhere near Serena's level of balance. So if Serena is the point of balance for firearm characters, then I think firearm Hailey still has a ways to go. But it is, again, a nice welcome change. We take the buffs and we say thank you, and we clear our plate and say tips to the chef. So at least we have some damage there, and Hailey finally getting some attention on the balance front is quite nice. Next up is Bunny, and this is kind of a big thing here. We know that the sprint changes are going into the patch, but they are going to be making Bunny faster. So it's kind of the name of the game here as well. So for Bunny, speed of light, her, you know, her active ability that causes her to run faster is now going to have a sprint speed increase flat of 200. So it's 200 faster than it was before, flat, without any other additives and things on top of it. So Bunny just got faster in this patch overall. Maximum power is her channel ability. Movement speed during this skill has gone from minus 300 flat to minus 50%. So they know then recognize that she's going to be a lot faster than she was before. So rather than just doing a flat value, it's minus 50%. So realistically, if you're at the sprint speed cap of 1300, minus 300 is not the same as minus 50%. So it's going to, you know, maximum power is going to feel a lot slower than it did previously. But I think that's a fine trade-off for being able to have overall, like, actually be faster outside of when you're channeling your maximum power. And likewise for electric transition module and bionic fuel module, it has a flat sprint speed increase of 200 on top of the flat sprint speed they already got before, which I think just because what those modify in general will probably end up being the same thing outside of some conditions, but in general, Bunny just getting faster. They also buffed Gley, and this was like kind of like, you know, at least my like test for what they were planning to do with this patch. Because again, if they're saying that Serena is the point of balance, like that is the benchmark, we want every firearm character to be equal to Serena in firearm output, then obviously Gley is the next best test, right? Because Gley, quintessentially, even though she does have a very cool like snap crunch Gley is super fun, you can do a lot of AoE damage with crazy range on it. In general, Gley is kind of seen as the firearm character for the most part. So I was curious to see if they're even going to try to bring Gley up to Serena's level in that. So what we've got here are some pretty cool changes. For Gley, when she's in her frenzied state, the firearm attack increase from the frenzied state has gone up from 15% to 30%. So a 2x multiplier on her firearm damage when she's frenzied. She's always going to be frenzied, so that's a free buff there. And the firearm explosive attack has gone from 15% to 50%. So a big increase on that. So restored relic Gley, probably very good, you know, obviously much better than she was before for void erosion purge and things like that. Hopefully this also applies to the new launcher that we're getting in season 3 and helps scale that up as well. Then for increased sensory, which is this is a big change that they've been hopefully people have been expecting for a long time. Removed movement speed decrease. So when she's frenzied, the movement speed decrease is gone. She can now move at normal speeds from that standpoint. And they also added in additional firearm crit damage and additional weak point damage increase of 10% respectively for both of those. So more damage, more firearm attack, and no slowdown. This is good. Next up, there's been this kind of like crazy back and forth on what is the best option for Gley when it comes to firearm. Like a lot of people like, you know, Sanguine, a lot of people like Predator Instinct, some people like, you know, some of the, what is it, Iron Blood or whatever it's called, different options that have, you know, moderate increases. There never really was a slam dunk option for her as far as that, but getting a big buff to Predator Instinct, I think, will go a long way in helping her to increase that, because obviously this is the, you know, and obviously with the flat value increase of firearm attack and the firearm attack that you get from Predator Instinct will hopefully synergize to make her even stronger when she's running this module. So now at level 1, the firearm attack bonus went from 15% to 25% on top of the bonus she's already getting just for being frenzied. Then the explosive attack went from 15% to 40%, and that's at level 1. When you fire long enough in frenzied with Predator Instinct, you'll stack up that buff bigger and bigger. And then at level 2, you'll get, instead of 21%, it's now 42% firearm attack, and then 70% up from 21% on explosive attack. So Gley getting some pretty big scalers here. Hopefully this, you know, puts her up close to Serena, depending on, you know, obviously I don't know if she'll be able to compete with Serena when Serena is running that like hair trigger razor wire build, where like if you have just enough ammo recovery and just enough mana recovery and you're playing by yourself and you're flying in the air and you get everything just right, she can do ridiculous amounts, but obviously it's a little bit less reasonable or feasible for most encounters. When we'll just kind of see how Gley shakes out with these changes. Lastly for Gley is the Super Senses module. I know a lot of people like Super Senses. I have never really liked it. It is an interesting module. It's just kind of hard to compare to the others. So hopefully with these changes, it makes a lot more sense to run Super Senses in many cases. I know some people are like big die-hard Super Senses fans. I just never found a reason to run it for any reason. But with this, when you have Super Senses equipped and you're frenzied, you will get a movement speed, your movement speed change from previously it used to be a 50% decrease on top of the decrease that we had before. Now it's a 30% increase. So by default, she doesn't slow herself when she's frenzied anymore. And when you're running Super Senses, you will also get a 30% movement speed increase, which could be super fun. Then added firearm critical hit damage 30% and weak point damage 30%. So another option for her. It does seem like more of her red modules are going to be more interesting. We know Predator Instinct and Super Senses getting some bonuses there on top of the buff she's getting by default. So overall, I think Gley stocks are up. And this culminates into the sprint cap change. This did come in with this patch. So previously the sprint cap was 1,000, then they raised it up to 1,300, and that was been the cap for a very long time. Now they're raising the cap from 1,300 to 1,600, and this is in-game right now with the speed that you get. So all the characters can now scale up higher, unless you're running full sprint speed cores on your weapons and you have a specific character. I think not every character is going to be able to reach 1,600, but it is now the new cap, which means that you can actually play with more. It also means that some of the weapons that have the ability to run 3 or 4 sprint speed cores on them will become more popular, because it means that that's going to be more important, more viable. And obviously with some of these changes where Descendants can get faster or have better access to movement speed increases, I think that's going to be much better. So you can see that 1,600 is the new cap for sprint speed. It's 1,500 if you're aiming or firing. And they did the same thing for the multipliers when you are aiming and firing. It has a range of minus 90 to 120 for the lower and upper on that. Next up, they changed the Void Erosion Purge. We knew this was coming. They basically scrunched Void Erosion Purge from 30 levels down to 10 with the same rewards across them. And they also added in a new rotating map schedule. So every day the Void Erosion Purge level 10, which is the previous level 30 on normal, will rotate between maps. You're not doing the same map every single time. There's 5 different maps and they rotate every day. So, you know, if you do Void Erosion Purge 10, which is the previous 30 to farm level 10 cores to core out your weapons, it's now every day it's going to be a different layout, a different map, so at least you're getting some stimulation from different areas and things like that, rather than doing the same thing over and over again. However, they did ensure that the new stage 10, which is the previous stage 30, is still Legion of Darkness and weak to chill. So your Void Erosion Purge 30 builds are still viable and still exactly the same. A sad change here, but they just disabled the Void Erosion Purge normal leaderboards. They're just gone. The only leaderboards you have are Void Erosion Purge Challenge. So I'm always a fan of including more data rather than less data, having more things to compare. Yes, I'm dying on purpose to get red tickets. That wasn't on accident. But yeah, I feel like they could have kept the normal leaderboards. It was nice to have that as a separate point of data. You can compare that to how people are running normal to how people are running challenge. And I think it is useful for, you know, new players to be able to look at the leaderboards and learn. Because I think that the builds for how you farm Void Erosion Purge level 10 now on repeat is going to be a different build than how you run Void Erosion Purge Challenge. And I feel like if you're going to run like the super tanky builds or the super like razor thin, hyper optimized builds from Void Erosion Purge Challenge, I feel like that's going to make for a bad experience in Void Erosion Purge Normal. So I'm never a fan of like removing data that people can use for reference or whatever they want. But for whatever reason, this patch, they decided that the only leaderboards that will exist for Void Erosion Purge are the challenge leaderboards only. And they also don't update very often because the challenge, Void Erosion Purge challenge leaderboards, you only get the rewards once when you complete it the first time. So people aren't running Void Erosion Purge challenge over and over and over. Some people try to get the best time, and the speedrunners are constantly trying to improve, but I feel like it just doesn't have the same level of incentive. So making it only for this, yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of taking things away that weren't causing any problems before, and it's just another point of data or reference for people that they can use as information, but it is now gone. Next, they added in the weapon cores dropping from 400% dungeons. This is actually a really nice change. The only thing I don't like about it is that the infiltration operation 400%, they drop tier 2 to tier 4 cores, which means that if you're a brand new player and you just got to infiltration operations, or you're doing normal mode to hard mode and you finally unlocked 400%, getting tier 2 to tier 4 cores is going to be useful for you. But I feel like once you've spent any amount of time farming cores, tier 2 to tier 4 cores is a nothing burger. It literally is, you would have to do like 800 400% operations to get a single 10 core that you can use in your weapon. And I feel like, you know, once you've been playing the game for X amount of time, all you care about are tier 10 cores. So getting tier 2 cores from infiltration operation 400% just feels like it's such a wet noodle of a bonus, but it is better than nothing, I guess. So you still do get cores dropping from 400%. You also will still get you'll get tier 3 to tier 5 cores from Sigma Sector, and at least for these, you know, for 400% and Sigma, you're probably doing them for other reasons anyway. So you're farming up your RK tuning, or you're farming up your red tickets or something like that. Doing those, I think, is useful, and you're still going to be getting cores while you do it. But the core tier level is quite low for what you're getting, and it means that Void Erosion Purge stage 10 normal is still going to be your best bet for farming your cores. That's where you're going to get your, you know, your 5 to 9s, and then for completion bonus you will get a bunch of 10s and 9s, which is way more efficient to get cores that are actually meaningful and have good stats on them compared to others. But it is, again, it's free. You're doing those activities for other reasons anyway, so eventually they will add up. Just keep in mind that, you know, 3 1 cores equals a tier 2 core. You know, then you got to go 3, 9, 27. Like that multiplier goes up real fast to the point where you get to like 13,000 tier 2 cores to get to 1 tier 10. So you realize that the numbers get very skewed when you have low tier cores dropping. But it's free real estate, so at least you get kind of some bonus there, which is, it's better than nothing, I guess. Then we got some cool gameplay changes, some big ones that seem small but are actually really cool. The first one is change the drop rate of all modules obtained when completing infiltration operations to 100%. This is going to be big for new players. There's a lot of times where you're like, I remember spending days to weeks farming a specific module to get that lined up. So having those drop 100% guaranteed if it's listed on the infiltration operation is a nice boom. They also increase the movement speed and pickup range of fellows. This was actually mentioned in the Descendant Fest yesterday. Someone was like, hey, you know, sometimes the fellows, especially in like Sigma Sector, and it's gonna be a much bigger problem in Axiom Plains with more area to cover. But if your fellow runs off to, you know, the outfield to grab some items and now has to run to the other side to pick up items, there are many times where you would leave an area and the fellow didn't have time to pick everything up. So by increasing the auto pickup range and also increasing their movement speed, it is quite a nice change that should impact the game positively. And they also improved to automatically revive players in place if the mission ends and while they're in the down but not out state. This happened a lot, especially if you had new players going in on your Sigma Sector or something. They got attacked by beloved daughter Dia clone and got blasted. The mission is over, and you know, some people don't even pick up the people on the ground. They just leave because the mission's over. So now it'll just pick them up automatically in place if the mission ends, if they're on the ground, which is a nice quality of life. And lastly, let's talk about the new cosmetics coming into the game right now. So there are some evergreen ultimate skins that have been in the game forever, and they have not left the store at all. So they marketed this as skins making a comeback, even though these were always here. So I think that that might have just been a weird translation issue or something. You can see that, like, you know, the Valby skin and the Gley skin and the Ultimate Freyna skin and all of these have been in the store for a very long time. They just haven't been in bundles. So they marketed this as skins making a comeback, which was very confusing. And all they're doing is they're just repackaging these ultimate skins into new ultimate bundles. So just like we had on launch, those $100 bundles that gave you a catalyst and an activator and a descendant slot and new stuff, they refreshed some of these with new bundles. So it does come with the ultimate character. It comes with the ultimate skin as well, the ones that have always been in the game. However, it's a new bundle with a new back attachment. So you got like this cool little like bat back attachment for Ultimate Gley, and they come with new spawn animations as well. So they're basically re-fulfilling those original bundles that they had before in the game. So if you're interested at all in these, you can find these in the shop for like the bundles, the special bundles here. Some of these aren't complete. So like this is like the famous Freyna skin. They added a new back attachment, which looks kind of cool. And they also added this poisonous thorn, though I will caution you, many of the spawn effects they added with this patch are incomplete or not properly finished. So for example, this poison thorn, there's like a giant turd that flies around you right now. I'm guessing this is supposed to be a like cloud of green toxin, not like some frozen gelato just flying around her, but there's several of these that are like that. I'm assuming this will just be updated for that as well. There's like the Ultimate Gley option. There's the Freyna. The bunny has this one as well, which we looked at that. It's her like destroying it. Then there is like the Valby one and stuff like that. So there are new bundles that go along with that, which is really cool. So if you're looking for these, to find these as a bundle bonus, you'll get some cool stuff out of it with new things if you really like the character, or for the new players that are coming to the game that don't have the ultimate character and just really like the character. They want a skin, they want a catalyst, they want a descendant slot, they want a new spawn and all of that. So those are coming in as new bundles in the game. And of course they have the new bikini skins and summer skins. So we'll start with the dudes just to piss the gooners off, but we've got this here. This one also, this comes with a spawn. It's a universal skin for the males as well, which are all basically the same model except for Esimo. You can see when he pops up, he's here and ready to go. It does have this name card as well as the UI theme, and it does have this spawn which also looks incomplete. Like it's a platform that's here that just glitches out with any VFX, and then the character reappears without any VFX. So I'm guessing this is just a bug or some kind of implementation error where this is meant to look cooler. Like even in the icon, you can see that it shows up with like water rising up. So maybe this looks cooler once they fix it, but this is kind of the male setup. And they also have the ladies bundle as well, which is a whopping $55.40, which is practically $100 for the whole bundle, but you get all of the bikini skins. You also get this leisure time like sauna thing. They said that you could turn these emotes while you're previewing it, but maybe it's only when it's in the field that you do this here and have that set up as an option. But you got that there, and then you have all of the different skins for this. And while I was just showing this off, now we've got now I'm a race car, guys. The hover bikes are in the game. They launched them early. This is the new hover bike, the luxury line. So you can hover bike around in full comfort and quality. I was just trying to show off the emote, but I guess now I'm just a dolphin on a bed zooming around. So if you're wondering if this bug was still around, it turns out it is. So if you're curious, this one is Serena, this one is Inez, this one is Hailey, this is Luna, this is Valby, this is Sharen, this is Gley, this is Freyna, this is Bunny, this is Viessa, and then the characters that don't have breasts available in there. So another round set up here, and I think it works great if you're going to come over here and hang out in the infinity pool. I don't know if anyone can see me dolphining around like this, but I am now an underwater creature just ready to vibe. Here we go. But that is the overall patch. A bunch of new cosmetics, infinity pool, some quality of life changes, a bunch of buffs that are going to be fun to explore as well. Gley and Valby and stuff getting some new things, plus some new events and everything going on. So let me know what you think about the patch down below in the comments. Yeah. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.